Hey guys, welcome back to Pitching 101 with me, Trevor May. Again, don't forget at the end of the video to leave your comments below to tell me what you would like to see in a future video of Pitching 101. I actually got the idea for this video from reading the past comments on the last one. So if you could leave a comment, hit the thumbs up as always, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell button to get notifications when we come out with new videos every weekend. I'm going to look to extend this video series into the season. Try to be as consistent with it as possible. Do one weekly. It could involve guests, special guests. You'd be talking about specific things that happened that week in games. It could be answering a lot of mailbag questions and things of that nature as well. Just trying to keep a lot of the content moving forward and give you little bits and pieces that hopefully you can apply to your baseball life moving forward. So I'm super excited to keep doing this. But without further ado, today's video is regarding the mental aspect of playing the game and kind of mastering your mental game. So I wanted to start out by giving a little bit more context for why this is a big topic for me and has been through my life moving forward in the game of baseball specifically, but also just in everything I approach. It's kind of bled in, all over my life. So a little bit of a short anecdote about me, a little story. Growing up, and I've talked about this a lot. I talked about this in my podcast as well, but I just wanted to hit it again in video format because it's a little bit better for some of you guys. So growing up, I was a very emotional child, sensitive. Some people would say mentally weak. Some people would say, a lot of people would say that. And, when things would kind of start to go poorly for me in a game, if I was completely locked in and things weren't just going my way, I would quickly fall apart like a house of cards. And that's something that it was a soft spot for me. Still it is to this day, but anyone who went to middle school, elementary school, or high school with me knows that I was not someone that you relied on to get to pitch in a big game, at least when I was really young and going into my early teens, because of how quickly it could devolve into a really ugly situation. So when I was 15 years old, I was the best pitcher in the league. I don't think that anyone could deny that. Some might, but in my small town, I had the best year, and I was the most dominant guy far and away. But I was not selected to play in my summer league or in my on my all-star team to go play in travel tournaments on the travel ball team because of my emotional problems. Because even though it had been getting better that year, there were days where it would just get away from me, and excuse me, and I wasn't chosen. I think that day was kind of one of the more down days up to that point in my life that I ever had. Felt like I worked very, very hard to improve, but I wasn't being acknowledged for the things I accomplished during that year. And I wanted to continue to play baseball into the summer. That was important for me because there weren't a lot of options. I was from a small town that wasn't really that close to a very big city either. So joining another team wasn't really an option either. So I actually got together with some other guys who also weren't selected, and we put together a quote-unquote B team, and we went through to all the same tournaments as our counterparts, the A squad, and we had a better record, and we beat them a couple times too. So it ended up working out, but that was a big moment in my life where having a very little mental toughness affected me in a big way, and that's when I started to make some changes, and things started to turn around for me, right? Maybe I guess the point of the story is just to say this isn't something that you just decide to have one day. Mental toughness isn't something that just appears in your life. It isn't something that you're out there in front of everybody and then you just make a decision, right? It stems from confidence, mental toughness equals confidence. If you have confidence, you find yourself being more mentally tough in tough situations because you believe that what you're doing is going to work out in your favor and not vice versa. So as I move through levels, as I leveled up in my career, as I moved level, the competition got a little bit harder, and you had to build confidence again. You had to get your feet under you and realize that I had the ability to get guys out at that level, and I had to do it every time. And so my strategies for doing that continue to improve every time. Now, as a person that naturally tends to inflate things in my head, thinking that people are better than they are, or that it's going to be a bigger task, or there's more stress involved than there should be. It's just naturally who I've been my entire life. So it took me longer, and you can see that in my career. Every level, I had to take a little bit of time to get my feet under me. But once I did, and I got comfortable at a level, then I started to excel. And I think that happened. It happened literally at every single level, but that meant my path to getting to where I am, to the big leagues, took longer than a lot of other guys, because I was inherently confident immediately, or comfortable immediately. Those two things go kind of hand in hand. So I wanted to I came up with I have a different way of thinking about mental toughness. And yes, it does equal confidence, but then you ask, how do you develop your confidence, right? How do you develop mental toughness? When I started to think of it in terms of mental toughness is a two-sided coin. It's either weak or it's strong. There's like no one who's like in the middle, right? No, people like aren't like, I'm pretty confident, right? You have times where you're super confident, you have times where you're not very confident, and that's kind of people are kind of in those two extremes at any given point in time. So how do you keep yourself on the positive side of the coin as much as possible, right? And like I just said before, mental toughness stems from the belief that you're about to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to the person that you're competing against accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish. It's the idea that when I do what I know, when I do what I've been practicing, I'm gonna win, regardless if it's gonna happen or not. That belief is what gives you the mental toughness. So what I want to talk about today is how to develop that, and real strategies for in your practice that then translate into the game. Things that are this is a strategy that's ongoing for me, that's developing for me, but I've seen results for it in good stretches of my career. Now that I'm off of injury and that I'm going to be healthy for the indefinite future, I'm looking forward to a lot of these strategies continuing to develop for me, and continue to help me get the job done on a day-to-day basis. Now, being in the bullpen, that's something that is literally my definition. Every single day I need to be ready to get whatever that job is that day. So that's part of the way that you build confidence, is having a full understanding of what you need to accomplish at any moment, right? So clarity in your goal is the first step building your confidence that you're going to achieve that goal. If you don't know what the goal is, you can't accomplish the goal. So if you think of this in the micro, in the day-to-day, game-by-game situation, me as a reliever, let's take it back to 2018. I was a middle reliever, and then at the end, I was starting to throw at the end of the games. The role doesn't change that much, but it does change a little bit, right? So there are days where I came in, guys, second and third, one out behind somebody. I need to not let these runs score, because my goal is to give up 0 runs every single time. That is the 100 out of 100%. If you give up 0 runs, regardless if you walk 3 guys and then get out of the inning, yes, that goes poorly on your stats, whatever. Fantasy guys don't like that. But in terms of winning or losing the game, if you give up 0 runs, you are helping the outcome, resulting in your team having a W, right? That is a positive outcome for your team. So how are you going to accomplish that goal? You form a plan. I need a strikeout here. I need a ground ball here. I need a pop up here. This guy is more likely to pop up. This guy is more likely to strike out. And you create your plan in your head on how you're going to approach the hitters as you move through the game. You make decisions based on high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. low risk, high reward, meaning you throw a pitch that they're not good at hitting, that you're good at throwing, that will probably, that more often than not results in a strikeout. That's a result of that is a low risk, high reward situation. You want to be in those situations as much as humanly possible when you're pitching, right? So what I've tried to do before I go in and pitch is whenever I know that it's might be my role to come in and pitch, we're getting into a situation where I might be someone who pitches, and you feel that out as you play. That comes with experience, but identifying what your role is that day and what your job is my number one thing that I made sure, and I'm continuing to make sure. I need to know exactly what I need to do before I go in and pitch every time I pitch. Number one, know your purpose, know your goal, and be very clear with it, as clear as possible. And if you need to say it to yourself out loud into the mirror, in the bathroom, in the bullpen, we have those in the major leagues, then do it. I had days where I needed to do that, where I'm like, I'm kind of all over the place right now. I need to lock in on what do I need to accomplish today. So step one, identify your purpose and point your nose directly at that purpose, okay? That is the most important part. Now, how do you develop that ability to lock that in and identify your purpose? Okay. Each role has different things that they're trying to accomplish. Starters need to go deeper into games. They need to get quick outs. They need to avoid long innings. All those things create a continuity in the game that then get your guys off the field from standing out there, and they'll let them hit. They like to hit. Hitters like to hit, and they don't like playing as defense usually as much. Hitting's more fun. So the more your guys are hitting, the better you're doing as a starter. Those are all parts of being a starter. Reliever, giving up 0 runs. Picking up your starter when he gets in trouble, coming in and cleaning up his mess without giving up any runs. All those things are momentum swings and help you do your job a little better and result in more wins, right? Those are all just common sense. So if you're a young guy pitching, start with, how do I avoid giving up runs? And practice those things. So step 2 then now goes to practice. These aren't in order, but in practice there are things you can do to help you lock in on your purpose. Though your purpose in a bullpen or in hitting practice or whatever might be different than what it is specifically in the game, you can practice identifying your purpose in practice. So, example, when you're throwing in the bullpen, there are things that you're trying to accomplish, meaning you might be trying to throw a better curveball. You might be trying to locate your fastball better. You might be working on throwing fastballs high to get guys to swing. You have a location in mind. You have a purpose for throwing that pitch. If you need to, this is what I have young kids that I teach how to pitch do live during pitching lessons. I'll have them say to me what pitch they're throwing and where. I want them to identify the purpose, and I want them to explain their intent to me, because when you say something, it's very hard for your brain to go anywhere else. So it's all about focusing on the task that you're doing right now, and how do you make your brain do that? How do you train it to naturally focus on the singular task at hand and not worry about what an outcome might be, right? You can say it out loud, and if you need to do that in your practice, do it, and don't be ashamed. Now, I've been talking a lot about purpose or intent. Those things go hand in hand together, right? And a lot of you young guys out there are going to ask yourself, how do I identify what my intent, what my purpose is? And that's something you learn as you play the game. Now, don't worry so much about having a complete knowledge of the game of baseball or whatever the game it is you play. Just keep this idea in your head as you learn more about the game. So, try to create a purpose or intent for everything you do when you're on a field. That is a skill that it will be invaluable for your entire lifetime of playing any game or anything competitively or doing anything, right? If you're a public speaker or if you are a you hold any job, any sort of corporate job, or anything at all where you're constantly having to move forward and accomplish a plan or develop a product or whatever it is. If you are able to consistently refocus yourself on a purpose or intent, you're going to be miles ahead of people that are learning to do that on the fly if you can do it when you're younger. So let's go back and plug it back into baseball specifically, okay? If you're a young guy trying to hit and you're in the 101 stages, you're like, okay, I just want to hit the barrel, get the barrel on the ball, hitting a home run or hitting a ground, whatever, wherever I'm hitting the ball doesn't matter right now. It's just making consistent content and getting that swing going. Your purpose is then to make the adjustments so that the barrel hits that ball, okay? So you said, all I care about is hit the barrel to the ball, and you're just sitting there getting the barrel of the ball, hitting off a tee over and over and over again. Now, those swings are more quality than if you were just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just swinging. See the difference? Pitching the same way. You're intentfully throwing the ball somewhere. So if you know the intent, your body is going to train itself to then accomplish that goal of throwing the ball where you want it. That's how you learn control. That's how you learn consistent, in addition to all your drills and things, consistent mechanics, which I hear all the time. How do I build consistent mechanics? How do I build consistent mechanics? Well, you have to identify what the mechanics are through practice or through pitching lessons or through watching YouTube videos or however it is. And then you do them over and over and over and over and over again. That's how you develop consistent mechanics. But knowing what those mechanics are and pushing yourself towards those will get you there eventually through practice. So the overarching idea behind this video is, guys, if I can leave you with one thing, it is identify your purpose and make that the only thing that you want to accomplish. Now that I'm in the major leagues and I'm going into my 11th professional baseball season, my 5th in the major leagues, I have a pretty good grasp on what my purpose is, what my role is, and how I can accomplish it because of through experience. And then that's the only thing that matters to me is getting everything I do prior to the game to loosen up, to maintain my body. It all is pointing towards how can I achieve my purpose on the mound every single night I'm needed. How can I maximize my value for this team? And everything points in that goal. That is my overarching purpose. And then I create a plan to get myself there. And each one of those steps has its own purpose that then leads to the next step. Think about things in that pattern. It takes practice, 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 practice. It takes all the time. But you can start. Your step one to achieving anything in your life will be identify what it is you want to do and how you're going to do it, and then go and do it, right? And at the end of the day, your confidence will stem from clear understanding of what it is you want to accomplish. You're like, if I do this, this will happen. You're suddenly more confident because you've done it so many times. That is what they're talking about in every sports psychology book. That is what every professional athlete you've ever seen do a podcast or do a inspirational tweet. Like, that's the basis for everything. Okay. So if you want more on this topic and a book I've read 15 or 20 times now, it's called Mind Gym. Okay. It's a sports psychology book, sports philosophy book. You're going to see a lot of anecdotes that are kind of underneath this this umbrella of the things I've talked about in this video. It's all about playing in the moment. Again, same thing. It's just different ways of saying the same thing. There is no one way to do it. You're going to develop your own strategy. But if you can use this idea of purpose and apply it to everything you do as you move forward, then you're going to be able to do all these things. So, I would recommend getting Mind Gym. You know, we're in 2019 now. A happy new year. So you can get it on your Kindle. There's hard copies. I'm thinking about just giving away a copy on Twitter. I think that'd be a cool thing to do. But yeah, I guess that is kind of the mental aspect I wanted to hit on. Don't forget, hit the comments up below with anything additional that you might want to expand upon this topic, very specific things, give me specific situations you would like me to talk about, or anything else you would like to know about my routine, my life, how I approach everything that I'm approaching. And again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the top of the screen. That would be extremely helpful for me. And hit the thumbs up. You know, those things are how YouTube works, and they're helping me drive forward in this YouTube journey. Thanks, guys. I hope you have a wonderful one, and I will see you next week with Pitching 101.